So we're preparing for Shavuos. We're in the last week of the Shavuos that make up the Chag Shavuos. So you know that Bavust, it's known that the Magen Avram in Hilchos Shavuos writes, Issa bezoyar. It says in the Zoyar, Shechasidim Harishonim, it's the Zoyar in Pashas Emor, Shechasidim Harishonim, Hoyu Ne'orim Kol Halayla V'oiskim B'Torah. That Chasidim of Amol were up all night and they learned Torah on Shavuos night. Ukvar Nohagu, says the Magen Avram, Roiv Haloim Dim Lasis came. That even though in general, we go down, but in this particular thing, he says that even though the Zohar writes that Chasidim Harishonim did this today, Roiv Haloim Dim do this. And he says, V'ef shelo seis tam al pi pshutoy, L'fi, sheYisrael hoyu yisheinim kol halaylo v'hutzrach HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'hoy roisam v'kol loisu brokim v'kol shoyfer ki the Issa b'medrash. There's a medrash in Shir Hashirim Rabbah that says that Yidden almost overslept that most important morning of Matan Torah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to wake them up. About that needs to be explained. But we need to correct this, and we correct it by being up all night and learning. So, if you look in the Zohar inside, it says, and we learned, the Oiraisa, the Iboya Leila Mili, Baholelia, that the Torah that one should be Yogeya in, one should toil in, on this night, Oiraisa the Baal Peh. One should spend his time learning Torah Shebal Peh on this night. So the special emphasis on Torah Shebal Peh on this night, Avada, needs to be explained. Because true, all of Torah was given in Sinai, including also Torah Shebal Peh, as Chazal even say, Kol Ma Shetalmid Bosik Osid L'Chadesh, Nitten L'Moshe Misinai. But Avada, first and foremost, it's Torah Shebechsav. The impression we get from the Zohar is that we should dafka learn Torah Shebal Peh, not Torah Shebechsav. I mean, why should that be? Is Shavuos more shaykh to Torah Shebal Peh than to Torah Shebechsav? No, you know that there's a whole discussion about whether or not one is allowed to learn Torah Shebechsav at night. If you look in Siman Reish Lamed Ches in Orach Chaim, the Bayer Hativ in Sif Cotton Beis brings that one should not learn, brings in the name of the Arizal that one should not learn Sukkim at night. The Mishnah Brura in the Sha'ar Hatziyim brings it and he says that the Pri Megadim says it's okay, and for sure, even those that say not to, it's not an Isser. It's just that if you have a choice, you should rather learn Sukkim by day and Torah Shebal Peh at night. The Yisod V'Shorish HaAvodah in Sha'ar Vov writes that there's a sakona in learning Torah Shebechsav at night. But in any case, it's probably not why the Zohar is saying that on Shavuos night you should learn Torah Shebal Peh, because the Zohar seems to be saying something particular about the night of Shavuos. The Boya Leila Mili Bahol Lelia, that the Torah that one should be toiling in this night is Oraisa the Baal Peh. So it seems like Torah Shebal Peh, Dafka, is what one should learn on the night of Shavuos, because that's what is appropriate for the night of Shavuos, and we have no clue. Why is Torah Shebal Peh more appropriate to be learned on the night of Shavuos than Torah Shebechsav? In the Sugya of Matan Torah, Masechta Shabbos, the Gemara says, Omer Rabbi Avdimi Bar Chome Bar Chase, Vayisyatzvu betachtis ahor, Yidden stood betachtis ahor, Malamed, Shekofa aleim es ahar kigigis, V'omer lohem, Im atem mekablim es haTorah mutiv, V'im lav shom tehei kvuraschem. In other words, the mountain covered them, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu threatened them. Imate mekabel misater mutiv in lav sham teik for us. Amar Ravacha beyankiv mikan moido rabbe lo'iraisa. This gives Klal Yisrael a taina of moido, which is a borrowed term from Hilchos Kinyonim, that if you were coerced into selling something, you don't have to deliver the merchandise because it's you have a tainus moido. So mikan moido rabbe lo'iraisa. This is a huge moido that undoes the whole Kabbalah Satorah. Rashi says, "She'im yasmineim ledin." HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be Tovei Klal Yisrael ledin. Lama lo kiyamtem ma shekibaltem aleichem. Why didn't you do what you took upon yourself? Yesh lam tshuva. They have an answer. Shekiblu ba'inus. We were coerced into accepting the Torah, and therefore we're not responsible for the Kabbalah. The Gemara says in the Hemshech, Omarove, Afal Pikein, Hodur Hibluha B'Yemei Achashverosh. In spite of the fact that at that time they did it behind us, but B'Yemei Achashverosh Hodur Hibluha. The Ksiv Kimu v'Kiblu HaYehudim Aleim. Kimu Mashe Kiblu Kvar. Kiblu Kvar was by Matan Torah, but now it was Kimu Mashe Kiblu Kvar, and that's the Hoda Kiblu that they took it upon themselves Baratzen. So the Kimu v'Kiblu b'Mei Achashverosh removes the Tainus Moido'o. So the Ramban over there asks, Hashili, the Chima Kabbalah Zu Oisa Misoifoi Shel Oilam Litchilosoi Im Koidem Achashverosh Lo Yoyu Mitzuvin Lamonenshu. We know that Klal Yisrael was punished for sinning long before the Maisa of Achashverosh. So obviously they were held responsible before the Kimu v'Kiblu. How could this Kimu v'Kiblu work retroactively? They should only be responsible from here on. If till now there was a Tainus Moidah, and now that it was removed, they should only be responsible from here on. The Ramban has a whole arichis to answer this question. He says that really it wasn't begeder punishment what we got before. It was begeder tnai that Eretz Yisrael was promised us only on a condition. But this is what the Ramban asks. Okay. Now, the ikir that Rava darshans the pasuk of Kimu v'Kiblu, that it's referring to Kabbalah Satorah, is the Kapella. Because the pasuk clearly spells out what the Kimu v'Kiblu was about. The pasuk says, Kimu v'Kiblu HaYehudim, Aleihem v'al Zarom, v'al kol hanilvim Aleihem, v'lo yaver, liyos oisim es shnei hayomim ha'ela, yiksovam uchizmanom b'chol shona v'shona. So we're talking about taking upon ourselves to keep Purim. How in the world does Rava say that this pasuk means Kimu Mashikiblu Kvar, and it's referring to the Kabbalah of the entire Torah when the pasuk clearly says that they were Makabel Purim? So the Maharal on the in the Or Chodesh on the pasuk Kimu v'Kiblu says B'zeh Haloshim. He says Upirush Al Yidei Zeh Shekimu Megillas Esther. Through the fact that they were Mekayim the Megillas Esther, and they took upon themselves to keep Purim every year, Kiblu Aleihem Masha Hoya Ro'ui Lahem Lekabel Aleihem B'Sinai. With this Kabbalah of Purim, they were Mekabel Masha Hoya Ro'ui Lahem Lekabel Aleihem B'Har Sinai. Ki B'mei Mordechai Vest Shekiblu Aleihem Mikra Megillah V'hi Mitzvah Achas. Uki'ilu hiksuva b'Torah b'chulei. V'lachen kashekimu mitzvah zois v'davar zeh me'atzmo. They weren't asked, they weren't commanded. They took it upon themselves by themselves. V'davar zeh hoya me'atzmom v'lo shegoz aleim u'bazeh kiblu aleim kol ha'mitzvahs b'kal v'chomer. This becomes the Kabbalah of all Torah b'kal v'chomer. Ki mitzvah zois. Shaloi shamu min Hashem yisborach shu roitze shu yekablu mitzvah zois. Afilu hachi hiblu aleim. Shar mitzvahs sheshamu ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu roitze shu yekablu kol kshoyim yekablu aleim. Afilu loy kofa aleim ha'kegigis. V'lachein Kashe kiblu aleim mitzvah zois, bazeh hoyu mekablim kol ha-mitzvahs. V'lachein ksiv, kimu v'kiblu, kimu ha-mitzvahs shenitnu b'sinai v'kiblu atem mikra. So the Maharal is saying that they didn't actually make a Kabbalah of Kol HaTorah. The pasuk, the Rav is not telling us that this pasuk is saying that they were makabel all of Torah. They were makabel Purim, but since they took upon themselves to keep Purim, and Purim was something that they weren't commanded, so that becomes a Kabbalah of all Torah because it's makabel chaymer. If they're taking upon themselves something that they weren't commanded, all the more so that they're taking upon themselves what they were commanded. They bring a sushtel to this, a mashal, because, there's a halacha that if somebody builds a fence around somebody else's chotzer from 3 sides, so the bala chotzer doesn't have to pay it. But if he was omad v'godar es haravis, if the bala chotzer closed the 4th side, so megalgal in all of a because he was megala daite denichelei. And therefore, he now needs to pay him for what he was mahana him with the other 3. So, in the same sense, this Kabbalah of the Mehapurim Ha'ela, it made them responsible for all of Torah. Now, according to this, maybe we can answer the Ramban's question, Ma Kabbalah zu oisa misoifa oilam litchilosoi. In other words, if this Kabbalah would be being makabel all of Torah, avadi, we were makabel now, not before, so how does this make us responsible retroactively? But now that we understand that this Kabbalah was really a Kabbalah of Purim, not a Kabbalah of all of Torah, it's only that implicitly it represents a nichuse in all of Torah. So this nichuse, this gilui milsa could be a gilui milsa lemafreya, that when Yidden took upon themselves a mitzvah that they weren't commanded, that showed that they were really niche in the original Kabbalah Satorah, even though it still needs to be explained. How do we know? Maybe they just reached this madrega now, and then they didn't have the nichuse. But it could be that we're saying that the wanting to be Makabel Torah is such a wanting that if it wasn't always there, it couldn't have come into being now. In any case, the point is that if we learn, like the Maharal is saying, that this Kabbalah is a Kabbalah of Purim, but it's an implicit Gilui Das, that the Nichale in all of Torah, it could be that it's a Gilui Milsa Lemafreya, that it's Megala that they always wanted Torah, even then when Kofa Aleim Har Kegigis. Be'emes, the foundation upon which there's Bechlal Shayach to have a Kofa Aleim Har Kegigis. I mean, what's the rationale behind coercing Klal Yisrael to receive the Torah? I mean, what justifies the Kofa Aleim Har Kegigis? So probably the pshat is like the pasuk says in Tehillah Mem Dalid, that who yoidea ta'alumay slave, the Rebbeinu Shalom knows the hidden secrets of the heart. That even if shochachnu sheim Elokeinu v'nifrois kapeinu le'el zor, that even chas v'sholom if we're over averis, but nevertheless he recognizes that alecha hoyragnu kol hayoim nechshavnu kitzoin tivcha, that Yidden are willing to be moiser nefesh for the Rebbeinu Shalom. In other words, sometimes in our daily affairs we're far from perfect, but that's not really what and who we are, because it shows. Because even a Yid, like the Balatanya is Marich in Perik Chafei, that even a Kalsha Bekalim and a Poshei Yisrael, when it comes to a Nisoyen of Kiddush Hashem, then we find often, he says, that even people who are Kalei Das, when it comes to a Nisoyen of Kiddush Hashem, they're Moise Nefesh. actually it says in the Sefer Hasidim, Ois Kuf Nun Daled, that a person should tap into that on a daily basis. He says, "K'sheyavoy liyotcha," something that's b'ritzoyin HaKadosh Baruch Hu, u'mipnei aboishes ataminei oisei. But you're embarrassed to do this mitzvah over here. Oisheyesh lecha yetzer hara shemizgaber alecha. Tachshoiv, ilu hayisa b'shas hashmad. Harei hoyu lecha kol hayisurim ha'imoves ba'avur haboirei. Shenemar al kein alama yisahivucha. V'im hoyu roitzim la'arigois hayisurim hayisa soivel. V'kolshkin zeh hadavar she'enei kol kach godul shemizgaber alecha yitzricha. So he's saying a person could tap into that koyach of Mesiris Nefesh, which is hidden deep inside the Talumay slave, and use it even on smaller things, because not only when it's a question of to be or not to be, is he connected with the Rebbeinu Shalom. He should find that connection in every machshava dibur u'maisa. In any case, the idea behind Kof Aleim Hakegigis is that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu recognizes that that's what we really want. That's like the Rambam says Lahedja in the end of the second Perik in Hilchos Gerushin. That what's the rationale behind the Choyfen Oisoi Ache Yoyma Roitzani, that we force a person to give a get when he's mechuyev al pidin to give a get, and it's not considered a get mo'usa. It's considered that he did it willingly. How is that? So the Rambam says, "She'ein oimrim onus, elo lemisha nilchatz v'nitzchak lasois dover she'ein mechuyev min haTorah lasois v'chule. Avol misha tokfa yitzroi hara levatel, somebody that's being attacked by his yetzer hara to be mevatel a mitzvah or to do an avera, v'huka, and he was hit. Ache osa dover shechayev lasois, until he did the mitzvah, or ache nisrachik midover sheosa lasois, ein ze onus mimenu. He's not considered like we forced him. Elahu onas atzmoi b'daitoi hara'ah. And we're just countering that oinus of his yetzer hara with our malkin oisoi, and now his real rotzen is nisgala. His real rotzen is revealed, and we say that the roitzani is the real rotzen, as the Rambam says, lefichoch. The embassy wants to do all mitzvahs. So Mamela, the pshat in the Kaf Aleim Hakegigis is that that HaKadosh Baruch Hu recognizes that that's really where our heart of hearts is. But often that the Hadar Kiblua, when was that revealed? When was it revealed that that's really what we want? In the Yemei HaShverish, when it was Hadar Kiblua b'Yemei HaShverish, we took upon ourselves something that we weren't nitztave, that we weren't commanded to do. That revealed that the Kafa Aleim Hakegigis was justified, because our inner real rotzen is to be mekabel the Torah, and therefore there's no tainis moida'ah, because our real rotzen is to be mekabel the Torah. Now Tosfos over there in Shabbos asks that why was there a kafa aleim hakegigis? Weren't they makdim already on the 5th day of Sivan? And they said nasa v'nishma. So what's the pshat that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was kafa aleim hakegigis? Vayisiatzu b'tachti sahor, that on the Vav b'Sivan, on the day of Kabbalah Satorah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was kafa aleim hakegigis. But according to what we're saying, the pshat is that in the saying of Nasa v'nishma, that taka revealed, that was a statement of Ratzon. That was a statement of Ratzon. But you know, a stated Ratzon can sometimes be something that's in the moment. It's a response to the here and now. Somebody could want something, but it doesn't really define him. He says yes, and he even wants it, but there's no raya that tomorrow he'll want it. There's no raya that this defines his essence. Therefore, the Nasa v'nishma was not enough. By Kafa Aleim Hakegigis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making a statement about Eden that it's not just the want of here and now, but that their essence is defined by the oimek harotzen of Ritzoneinu Lasos Ritzonecha, and it's only this Ursha Be'isa Ma'akev. So the Kof Aleim Hakegigis brings out a deeper inner rotzen than the stated rotzen of Nasa v'Nishma. You know, it says, and that inner rotzen is there even if your outer rotzen, your exterior rotzen, your stated rotzen is the opposite. Even if you're saying no, your inner rotzen is yes. You know, it says Vayishma Moshe Esa'om Boichel Mishpachoisav in Parshas Ba'aloisecha. So Rashi says, Rabbi Seinu Omru Lemishpachoisav Al Iske Mishpachos Al Arayis Hanesoris Lahem, that they were crying that from here on Arayis will be usher. So we see that the generation of the Yotzei Mitzrayim who received the Torah became usher in their mishpachos. They became usher ba'arayis. Now we know that Gershon is Gayer Gekot Shenoy Ladami, and he's mutter bekroivim. So what was the issue of the mishpachosav? They were a Gershon is Gayer Gekot Shenoy Ladami. They just took upon themselves the Torah. So the Maharal in Parshas Vayigash says the Ein LaHakshois in the Gur Aryeh, the Ein LaHakshois dim came. Since we say Gershon is Gayer Gekot Shenoy Lod, he says Ein Zakashir. Because the principle of Gershon is Gayer Gekot Shenoy Lod mutter bekroivav did not apply to the Mekablei HaTorah. And that's because the Heim Hochrechu Lekabel, the Hakofa Aleim HaKegigis, V'lo Yomrinam B'zeh Havi Gekot Shenoy Lod. Devad Mishin is Gayer Mei Atzmoi Kigoin Goy. Given the loyhoyot tzarich legayev or megayer atzmoy havi bria acheres legamri. Avol Yisrael sheyotzu miMitzrayim kimin shehoyu mechuyavim lekabel haTorah v'hoyu mechrachim lezeh ein zeh gekot shenoyim. So what's the idea over here? Why is it that only somebody that voluntarily converts, we say gekot shenoyim, but Klal Yisrael that was mekabel the Torah in an oifen of kofa aleim hakegigis, we don't say kikot shenoilot. So in the Sefer Klei Chemda, he explains that he says b'zeh aloshin given the royim on the kof aleim in kain hera Hakadosh Baruch Hu the Yisrael ein chiyusam ki imal pi atorah akdoshim v'shorsham v'chiyusam b'torah in kain lo shayich b'zeh Gershon is Gayer kikot shenoilot the adarabah hari ikin esinas atorah l'Yisrael mipnei she'em shayochim lo v'hi shelohem. Mipas shehem bnei Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. V'davke beger abol is Gayer mishara umes. Harehu mafrid atzmoi mei umes ha'olam u'medabek atzmoi b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu harei gekot shenoilot. In other words, the typical Gershon is Gayer gekot shenoilot is disconnecting from the self that he is now. He's disconnecting from that. He's becoming a new self. That's gekot shenoilot dummy. But by Matan Torah that it was Kof Aleim Hakegigis, that only makes sense because that is where their real self is. If that wouldn't be their real self, it wouldn't be justified to be koifa aleim hakegigis. And therefore, Yidden by Matan Torah don't have a din of kekot shenoilad because kofa aleim hakegigis. And why was kofa aleim hakegigis? Because their real self wants Torah. And therefore, the new self is really their old self. It's the same self. It's not gekot shenoilad. So according to this, it comes out that the Nasa v'Nishma and the Kofa Aleim Hakegigis don't contradict each other. Adirabah, they complement each other. The Nasa v'Nishma reveals our exterior, present, temporary rotzen of the moment. That's the Nasa v'Nishma. The Kofa Aleim Hakegigis is a statement about our essence, that we want Torah not just mitzad the here and now, but even if we don't want the Torah in the here and now, we want Torah in our essence. Okay, but still, I mean, l'chorah Taisus Kasha is still a Kasha because they already said not to finish. But how's it shaykh to force somebody to be makabel the Torah if he said he wants it? But you know that in the Tanchumim Parshas Noach, it says that they said Nasa v'nishma about Torah shebe Sav, and the Kofa Aleim HaKegigis was on Torah shebal Peh. That's what it says in the Midrash Tanchum. So that answers the technical question: how they could be a Kofa Aleim HaKegigis after they said Nasa v'nishma. But Lafisa, it comes out that our connection with Torah shebechsav only expresses our rotzen of the moment, the Nasa v'nishma, the external rotzen. Dafke, our connection with Torah shebal Peh reveals the deeper rotzen, the rotzen that express that is shaykh to our essence, because that was the rationale behind the Kafa Aleim HaKegigis for Torah shebal Peh. So now the Kabbalah of Nasa v'nishma took place already on the 5th day of Sivan. What happened on the day of Matan Torah is that it was the Matan of Torah, the Kafa Aleim HaKegigis, meaning that on this day, on the day of Shavuos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed what our Pnimius HaRotzen is, and therefore it's justified to be Kafa Aleim HaKegigis, and that was revealed by forcing us to be Mekabel Torah shebal Peh. So therefore, on the night of Shavuos, when we're up and we learn all night, it's V'oilifna, that the Oiraisa, the Boya Lamili is Torah shebal Peh, because the Iker Chiddush of Shavuos is the Chiddush of Kafa Aleim HaKegigis. The Chiddush of Kafa Aleim HaKegigis was L'gabi Torah shebal Peh, and because that expresses the deeper level of Ratzon that we have for Kabbalah Satorah. And Memela, listen, sometimes, I mean, we could experience Kafa Aleim HaKegigis from the outside. In other words, the Rambam says that we can force somebody, Bezdin can force somebody to do a mitzvah, even when he says he doesn't want, because we say that he really does want. If that's true, L'gabe Bezdin, it's avad true L'gabe oneself, that sometimes we don't want to do a mitzvah. But we have to tell ourselves that that's only our external, temporary rotzen of the moment. But if we'll force ourselves to do it, we will be able to eventually tap into our pnimius harotzen, which is ritzaynenu la'asais ritzaynecha elo shasa orasha beisa ma'akev. And memela, there's nothing wrong with pushing yourself, because pushing yourself is just the idea of Kafa Aleim HaKegigis. Okay, Rabbi Isai, next week is the Shavuos. We won't be able to get together. So I see all you guys over there from that we saw in Boca, and you brought some other friends also. I think. In any case, Rabbi Isai, a guten Shabbos und a freilichen Yom Tov, and all the best. Okay.